in a coffee shop in a city, which is every coffee shop in every city on a day, which is every day. Hello, friends, and welcome to the 19th episode of Barista Unfiltered, a podcast dedicated to the life and times of baristas. They tell us what's brewing in their lives and work in this free-flowing and unfiltered podcast. I'm Jodie Lee.
And I'm Austin Miller.
We are your hosts, and we're so glad you've joined us again. Today, our guest is Abbey Case, and she's one of my all-time favorite baristas. She can be described in so many ways, but we're going to start with Colorado native, part-time Boulderite, student, world traveler, and probably most important of all, wandering spirit. She's also been known to serve up some delicious coffees in her time. Welcome to the podcast, friend.
Thank you, Jodie Lee. Hi, Austin.
How are you?
I'm good. Yeah.
Oh my God, we're so glad to be seeing you out in the world. You are a hard one to catch.
Yeah, it's my life is a little bit crazy right now.
Always. I feel like your life is always a little bit crazy. First thing we always want to hear from our guests is, what kind of coffee are you drinking this morning?
I am currently and still drinking coffee that I made in a stovetop percolator. Yeah, it's from one of the coffee houses that I have worked at here in Brooklyn. It's actually quite good. But I really do like my Americanos when I go to get coffee, which is regular.
When you say still drinking, it makes it sound like it's like a week old. Like, how long ago did you make this coffee?
I have been known to reheat coffee from a few days ago. No, I just made it. It's 11 o'clock. That's the only reason I'm thinking still drinking.
So it wasn't a week ago.
No, but I wouldn't put it past me.
What's the latest you've gone on coffee? You think a week?
What's the latest that I've reheated?
Yes.
Yeah, probably about 5 days, I'd say.
I thought I was bad doing it at like 2 and 3 days. AJ sort of shamed me about that when we had him on the show. But 5 days, that's way more than me.
I mean, it's only when I'm completely out of coffee and I'm in desperate need of my caffeine fix in the morning. And it just happens to be right there. It's already made, you know?
But why haven't you cleaned that pot in 5 days?
Question.
She's like going through the compost for the old grinds. Like, maybe I could reuse these.
Heating them on a spoon. Austin, what about you? What's the oldest coffee you've ever reheated? I mean, you're in a coffee shop, so there's really no excuse.
Yeah, I mean, because I always get it at work. Like, I get this tiny little cup, and I put like a little bit of coffee in there, and I just sort of like dose myself continually through the day, most of the time. And then when I'm on my day off, like it's just 1 a.m, and that's it. So I can't say that I would put it past myself if I was in a situation where I needed to do that. But I'm lucky enough to not have to right now at the present moment in my life.
Well, and what you should know, Abby, is he lives 2 blocks from his coffee shop.
Okay.
That's right. Yeah, so I don't even have to worry about making it. Like, all I have to do is walk 1 block and we're good. Let somebody else do it.
What shop are you at?
I work at Spike's Coffee and Tea, and it's literally a block from my house.
Oh, okay.
So yeah. That's right. I hardly ever make it at home. I mean, I have stuff to make it at home, but like, I kind of like to go and, we kind of like we encourage everybody that works there to go in and kind of like keep an eye on the other barista skills and kind of learn from the other baristas. So like, for me, it's good to be able to go in there every morning and order my coffee there.
Makes sense.
Sort of as a quality control. Austin lives in San Francisco in the Castro district.
Oh.
So if you're ever in San Francisco, and I know that could happen sometime for you, you should look him up. And he is just the most wonderful tour guide of that town.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm there semi-regularly, so.
Oh, you guys should be friends. You should know each other. Glad
Next
we're
time you're in
taking
town.
care of that.
Noted. Yes.
Okay, so we got to shift the focus back to you, Abby. You're in Brooklyn, which is one of the 5 boroughs of New York City. I mention that because we have listeners in our podcast from all over the world. And so most people might not know. I find myself Googling things like this, like, is Brooklyn, New York City? I feel like it is, and it truly is. So, I mean, I've been in Brooklyn and I didn't know for sure that it was a borough. So, I'm just answering that in case anyone's wondering. So I got to know how that happened, because the last time I saw you, we met in a coffee shop in Colorado, and you were headed for South America. I think that was like a year ago. Get us caught up.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I was, last time I saw you, we were at Bittersweet, which is actually where we met. And I was heading to Central America, which I went to Guatemala for a few months and was planning on traveling sort of the entirety of Central America. But come to find out, you can only spend a matter of 3 months between Guatemala, Nicaragua, Honduras, and El Salvador, no matter where you are. So my time ran up. I somehow managed to spend almost 3 months in Guatemala. And then I had to cross the border, which means going to Mexico. And so then I went to Mexico and ended up getting caught there for a while and spent a few months there. And yeah, I came back to Colorado. It was sort of impromptu. My mom hates that I travel. Doesn't hate, that's a strong word. She isn't the gypsy spirit, I guess. And so she has a hard time understanding it. And of course she worries. So anyway, she moved to Wyoming and she was going to be in Colorado over the summer for a little bit. And so I booked a trip home from Mexico to surprise her and was planning on returning, and then somehow got caught up in Colorado and spent about a month and a half there and ran out of money and said I need to move somewhere and start working again and maybe settle down for a bit. And I don't know, I always wanted to live in the city for some of my 20s, and it just seemed like a good time to do it. So here I am.
Okay, let's go back to Guatemala.
Okay.
I made a lot of notes on what you just said because I got so many questions already.
That was
yeah. So you spent the 3 months in Guatemala. What were you doing there? Are you independently wealthy? Like, explain how a person in their 20s leaves everything behind and does something like this.
Yeah, I mean, I've managed to save money. No, I'm certainly not wealthy. I would never describe myself as that, unfortunately. But I have managed to save money working at coffee shops and being a barista, and then I travel on a budget. I mean, it's not like I'm staying in these hotels, 5-star hotels or anything like that. I rented an apartment for about 8 weeks there, which costs like $200 for the month, and was taking Spanish lessons and just really trying to integrate myself into the community there. I was in this place called Shayla for the majority of it, but I was also traveling around quite a bit in Guatemala. So yeah, it's on a budget. You stay at hostels and it ends up being pretty affordable.
And how do you find a place to live there? Is there any trouble in being at a person who's not a citizen trying to get an apartment?
No, no, I haven't ran into that problem, but it was pretty easy. I went to this place and was enrolled in a school and in a homestay for a week of it, and then it was like, well, I want to stay here longer, but I'm not super into the homestay. I'm not really great at sticking to a schedule or plan with other people. I like to be on my own, and so I was just walking down the street and saw a sign on the front of a laundromat that said, apartment for 1,000 Q, which is about $150. for the month, so I just did that.
You really do just wander through life. I think that's just amazing. I really admire that because I have no idea how that would work. I mean, I would get so sort of trapped in my, well, I need a plan sort of mindset. So, do you ever struggle with that?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. That makes me feel better.
Not so much when I travel, but I find that instead of being productive and having a plan, I tend to like sort of experience this paralysis from being an indecisive wanderer. So then I just sort of don't make shit happen for a while, and then I find myself, questioning what I'm doing quite regularly, actually.
So, tell me about the people of Guatemala.
Really good people. Really, really good people. Really accommodating and nice, and just friendly for the most part. Yeah, I never really felt unsafe or anything. It was just a really good experience.
Were you living near the coast when you were there?
I was not on the coast. No, there's not much. I mean, there's a little coast, but it's not. Guatemala isn't really known for, its coastlines. It's known for its mountains, and no, I was inland.
And were you close to a coffee growing region?
Yep, I visited some coffee farms.
Wow.
Yeah, really good coffee out of Guatemala for sure.
We have a great Guatemala coffee that we sell at Spike's. That's one of the most popular dark roasts that we sell. It's super good.
Yeah.
And a lot of people that come here, that are from Guatemala come in and they're like super excited that we have a Guatemala, and often we'll order that. So you got to work on some of the coffee ranches there? Or?
I wasn't working. I just, they do tours and stuff.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and it's crazy, like doing there's a bunch of volcanoes and hikes that you can do around, and sometimes you're just like hiking up a mountain and you see these huge coffee farms, and it's just, damn, how do these people do this every day? Because there's no accommodation on the side of the mountain. It's just they hike up there and work their butts off. It's wild.
Did you see some of the workers that were actually out on the farm?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
How did the conditions seem to you? Or
it was so beautiful that I don't know that I really thought about it much. I was just like sort of in awe of where I was, and it seemed okay.
Being in coffee, I would love to see where this comes from. Like, I've never actually been to a coffee ranch myself, so I definitely would be curious to try that sometime.
Yeah, I highly recommend it. There's amazing coffee down there.
Is it kind of like when you're looking at vineyards, or I'm sure you've seen photos of vineyards in Italy where they're just kind of growing down the side of a mountain, and they're in this beautiful context sometimes of where people live, but also just these gorgeous scenic places. It's like that.
Yeah, more or less. I mean, it is a developing country though, so it's poor, and it's definitely a little bit different, I'm sure, than Italy.
Did the people of Guatemala have questions for you? Like, I know when I traveled in Italy a year or so ago, I was held accountable for our president. Like, people, that's one of the first things they want to know. Did you vote for him? Like, which side are you on? Did you find that people were doing that to you?
Trump came up a lot. And I just don't know. I mean, it's sort of shameful, honestly, to travel and have someone like him be our president. There's not a whole lot I can say, but it's interesting when he was elected and gave his inauguration speech. I was actually in Panama at the time, and a lot of Trump supporters there, because they thought,
wow,
yeah, it was interesting. It was really interesting to see. I talked to a lot of taxi drivers there, and they just thought that he would help build their economy. And I'm curious to see. I'm curious to go back at some point and see if he actually had any effect on that part of the world or not. But yeah, back to Guatemala, it was just, I mean, he comes up a lot, of course, and it's just sort of, there's not much you can say. I'm sorry.
it's kind of like people judging you for your crass Uncle Fred, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
like that's not part of me. And can we just move past this? Like that's how I felt about it. Like, I don't want to talk about this, you know, can we
Yeah.
just talk about like how beautiful your country is, and let's
Yeah.
talk about humanity in general instead of being focused on this boil on the butt of humanity.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I remember being from when I lived in North Carolina, and I came and visited San Francisco in the 90s, in the early 90s. And like all anyone would ask me about was Jesse Helms.
Yes.
And for those of you who have no idea who Jesse Helms is, he was an incredibly homophobic senator that represented our home state. So when you would go to places like San Francisco, the Castro, everybody was aware of him because he did a lot of damage to, especially the way he talked about people with AIDS and HIV. So I was like very quick to change the subject to barbecue or cheerwine or anything else, because that's not what I wanted to talk about either.
Yeah, I mean, he was so harmful. I mean, he's just a senator in North Carolina, but his message was so hateful and so full of like segregation ideas. People in Australia knew about him. I mean, I remember traveling in 92 all over Europe, and every single person would talk about Jesse Helms, just what a monster he was. You know, it's amazing.
Luckily, these days, all they want to talk about is Asheville, which is a cute little hippie mountain town, instead of Jesse Helms. So I prefer that.
It's true. That's a much more fun topic. Okay, let's see. So your mama moved to Wyoming. She's been in Boulder a long time.
Yeah, since 72.
Is she one of those people who hates the growth in Boulder and just had to move to Wyoming?
Yep.
Yeah, this is happening here. People in Denver and Boulder are just irritated if they've been here forever and they like the slow ways and the country sort of Western lifestyle with the tumbleweeds. They are not having this condominium stuff. They are not having it at all.
Yeah, I mean, even in my lifetime, it's just really, really wild to see the amount of growth, and it's so elite, elite, and so privileged, and no diversity, which is a reason I had to leave. It's beautiful. Boulder's great, but there's not a whole lot that it can offer if you want anything outside of, if you want some
quite
culture.
Elite. So like Wyoming, Idaho, Montana, those are the main places I know people are moving, like the Boulderite flight. Why did she choose Wyoming?
She's outside of Jackson, and the Tetons are there, and she and my stepdad are wildlife photographers and videographers, and they just love being in the mountains, and so they're close to the park, and not a lot of people. It's affordable. They are unfortunately surrounded by a bunch of Republicans, but I guess that's just not something that comes up in conversation very often. Yeah, they wanted to be sort of in the wild, I guess.
Yeah, I'm hearing that more and more from people who've been here like before the 80s.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that they want out. Okay, let's talk about coffee a little bit. We met at Bittersweet Cafe in Louisville, and I think it was sometime around 2010. What do you think?
I think that's maybe 2009 maybe.
Okay,
I'll never forget you coming in the first time I met you. You were so pissed off about the weather.
Was it your first day or something?
It was one of my first days. Yeah. Yeah.
And I was such an ass because I hate cold weather. Like this morning, I've just gone for a walk. Can you see how cold my face looks? Because like and this is I've been in the house 30 minutes and I still have the cold face. But it's like 20 degrees outside, and you go outside and you're like, well, the sun's out. Like, I'm going to try to be a positive person. And then the wind is gusting like 30 miles an hour. And your body hates that. It just hates it. And so it just doesn't take much exposure like that for my body, for me to just be a bitch. And I walked in that morning and was like, I hate it here.
Yeah.
I'm a hibiscus in a tundra and I'm dying.
Yeah, that's why I'm so shocked you're still there. I mean,
oh God, an exit strategy. So we're working on it. Yeah, we're working on this. We're working on it. But anyway, tell me, was that your first coffee job? And how many coffee shops have you worked in?
oh gosh, so many. No, it wasn't.
Okay.
Azadeh and I worked together over at a coffee shop in Gun Barrel, which is a suburb of Boulder.
Was it page 2?
It was page 2, yeah.
Oh, I forgot that.
It was so funny. I remember she had just moved she's Iranian, and she had just moved here, or to the States, and had to teach her, sort of English at the same time teaching her about coffee. She didn't know what lettuce was, or tomatoes. And so there was a lot of pointing and explaining, and yeah, so we worked together over there, and then I moved out of my parents' house and needed a job, and so I called her, and she said, of course you have one, come in. And I think I was there for about 4 years, and then a few other coffee shops in Boulder, and I'm still in coffee currently. It's a double-edged sword sometimes, I find. I love it sometimes, and it's a great safety net to have, to be able to be in this type of service, and there's some sort of like job security in having so much coffee experience. But I find that it also sort of enables me to stay a little bit stagnant at times. So trying to recognize that and work with that, and really question like what I really want to do in the long run, because I love coffee, but it's not my passion.
It's just a good fallback, and lucky for you, coffee is everywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So tell us about the coffee shop you're working in currently.
So it's a few blocks away. It's tiny. It's really, really cute. Pretty fast paced. It's probably the best customer base I've had, because it's a lot of young people who are also in the service industry, who just like are it's right by the train. And so a lot of people in their commute just come in. And yeah, it's a cute little place, and it works for now. And
can people sit down in there, or is it just like people come and get their coffee to go?
There's like a tiny little bar, and there's some seating outside. But with it being winter and stuff, not a whole lot of people sit outside currently. But in the summer, my understanding is that it's pretty poppin'.
What's it called?
Marcy and Myrtle.
Marcy and Myrtle?
Yep, those are the cross streets.
Okay. What do you think of Brooklyn?
It's good. It's I think I'm just happy to be anywhere but Boulder. It was a lot of transition, and I feel like I'm finally coming out of that, and finally experiencing it for what it has to offer. So still to be determined whether I love it here or not. I am giving it another 6 months, and then we'll reassess if I plan to stay longer, or but there's so much opportunity here, and that's really one of the reasons I'm here. And I'm sort of starting to shift out of the coffee and wanting to go into, the nonprofit world. But it's interesting because it's like so competitive, to try and do good humanitarian work. And it's just fascinating to see such competition in that world, and then to like be paid basically nothing. To do.
What kind of MPOs are you looking at? Like, what are the humanitarian topics that most interest you?
International human rights, mostly. I would really like to work with people who are just in, need for like just very basic human rights. And I would love to travel and do that as well. Go to countries in conflict or, developing areas and promote human rights. I don't know. It's a broad.
Is that something you would hope to be able to incorporate traveling a lot into your work?
I mean, I'm not picky currently, but yeah, that would be ideal. I would love to be able to travel and do that, or I don't know. Yeah.
Did you ever consider just staying in Central America?
Yeah, I did. I still think about it.
The reason I ask is I have a friend. I have a friend that was a good friend of mine in college, and she went down. She went to Nicaragua and just stayed. Like 15 years later, she's still there.
Yeah.
And she ended up, setting up a life for herself down there. So it's possible.
Yeah, it is. I found it lonely at times, definitely. I missed my friends a lot and just that, connection. But yeah, if I had a partner or a friend to do it with, I would do it in a heartbeat.
Well, I've always known you to be an exceptional person. Like, even when you were a young thing. You're still young, but I knew you when you were really young. But here's a fact that I think is interesting that proves it. Fewer than 5% of Americans travel abroad every year. That shocked me. Like 5%. That's just amazing.
Yeah.
And only 36% of American citizens have passports. Do those numbers shock you, or are you?
Yeah. Yes and no. It's sad. I think Americans, we don't, as a country and a population, don't travel well. And sometimes when, you meet other Americans abroad, you're just like, oh God, I don't want to be associated.
So this is common. This is a common theme I hear. Like, I have a Slovakian friend who says this too, that when she hears someone speaking Slovakian here in Denver, she will not speak to them because she does. And I thought, when she first told me that, I was like, well, that's kind of weird. When I hear someone speaking Southern, I do want to talk to them, because having a Southern accent out here in Colorado is a rare thing. And if you find that, you could have a conversation with somebody about how uncivilized a place is without some sweet tea. Good for a chuckle. But it's true that when I'm traveling abroad, I do not want to be associated with the sneaker wearing like people.
Yeah.
I don't. I feel like it's going to make my experience somehow less authentic.
Yeah.
If I ally myself with an American abroad.
Yeah. And I mean, some are just, and this is true of all people, of course, not just Americans, but it's just embarrassing sometimes.
What do you think is the most embarrassing, like, American behavior you've witnessed?
I mean, just trying to speak to locals or, communicate and really sort of taking like the human out of it, and talking to locals like not as humans. And sort of, I think a lot of Americans travel and have this sort of idea of like, people are there to accommodate them. And that's not my mindset. And so it's sort of just hard to see that. And it's hard to watch the amount of privilege and entitlement, I think, mostly that I see when traveling, and Americans are just like expecting so much. And I mean, the amount of patience, I think Central America, South America, lots of so much of the world, it's like very different as far as mindset and timing, and you have to have a lot of patience for sure, and a lot of people don't.
Yeah, and you would think probably like the people who could afford to travel, who aren't doing it like you do it, like your typical American traveler saves a bunch of money, stays in a five-star hotel, and those people are used to other people working for them.
Absolutely.
Or have a tendency to. So they just keep applying that everywhere they go.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So that's interesting. Well, we know a little bit about your travel style and why you travel. What has surprised you the most about leaving the United States? Like what expectations did you have that were completely turned on their heads?
Oh gosh, that's a good question. Every time I travel, it's just such a reality check, I think. And so many people live on nothing and are some of the happiest people I've ever met in my life. And it's really, really incredible to see that. And so I think a lot of my expectations my experiences have far exceeded my expectations, in just the meeting of people and seeing how happy, people can be in a community where there's not a lot of money. And it really makes you think about life and, question what it's all about and what happiness means. It's really, really quite the experience. Yeah.
Did you know you were going to discover that, or you didn't go looking for that? Did you
No,
looking for like what is the definition of happy?
I mean, I think I travel a lot because I'm sort of trying to figure that out, and what it means to be human. And so there's some expectation and like wanting to find a piece of myself, definitely. But yeah, my experiences have far exceeded my expectations, definitely.
Well, what are things, since we're talking about things and stuff, what are the things you must have when you're roaming the planet?
Books. I mean,
real live books? Do you carry books?
Oh God, I've been known to carry 5 books at a time in my little backpack. Yeah, I try not to. I love books, though. I love actually having books. But no, I did get a Nook before my first big travel, which has been great. But yeah, I really, one of my favorite things to do is find bookstores where I go and try and find books in bookstores, or lots of the time, like hostels will have a bookshelf where everyone drops their books because they don't want to carry the weight. So yeah, books are definitely one of the essentials. What else? A raincoat. It's so necessary. I've been stuck in some really shitty weather with a really big backpack and no raincoat at times. So I've learned my lesson. Yeah, good shoes. Lots of walking. Good shoes, books, and a raincoat, I would say, are really the essentials.
When you're traveling, do you do you save up like a lot of money before you go, and then travel to less expensive places in the United States and just sort of like stay there till your money runs out, or do you find work when you're abroad?
I have not worked being abroad. I've volunteered and, you know, like done a work trade for room and board, which saves money. But no, I save some money before I go. I would love to be able to have some sort of income and travel, though. I've met a lot of people who are able to do that, but they tend to be in the realm of, you know, tech, and are able to work remotely from their computers. Also, a lot of people also will teach English, either online or in, you know, the community that they're in, which is a little bit of income. But I haven't had any source of income while I've traveled. I've saved. Yeah.
That's so cool. I just admire your adventurous spirit.
Thank you.
I'm sure you've met lots of crazy characters in your travels. Can you tell us a story that's particularly memorable?
There's so many. You know, I've thought about this question, and I just don't know that I can pick one person. I mean, I'm not going to pick a person. I'm just going to say, like, it's really interesting to see and to have not experienced any bad people. I think I've had like a couple interactions of, you know, bus drivers or taxi drivers that are just really rude and not happy that, you know, I was there. But other than that, everyone I've met has just been so good, like just really good hearted. And I think that's amazing.
That must like fill up your spirit.
Absolutely.
In a way that no book or, you know, anything you could get in a classroom would.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's really, really amazing.
I think we get a lot of negative stories here through the media too, like ideas that that, you know, anywhere outside the United States, they're just a bunch of, you know, I don't know. I feel like we hear the negative from other places a lot.
Yeah.
So like I would imagine that one of the big bonuses of traveling is to realize that there's a lot more out there than kind of the negative shit we hear in our news media.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's the majority of it is good, you know, and it's interesting that such a negative experience will get blown up to such a degree, and then, you know, it just sort of takes over everyone's mind, and obviously it sticks more in everyone's brain than the positive experiences. But yeah, I mean, the positive is just so much more vast than the negative, which is really cool. It's unfortunate though that the media does that.
Well, what's up for you next? What you doing?
Uh,
I always love to ask you this question because it's always a vague answer.
Well, if I know, Jodie Lee, I really am trying to figure it out here.
Are you taking suggestions?
Yeah, always. Yeah. Let me know who you know. I don't know. I wanted to embrace being here in New York, and before I leave or travel or start to think about other things, I feel like I will kick myself in the ass if I don't sort of give it my all and try and experience this city as I should, or as I think I should. So yeah, just sort of sticking this out, and I don't know. We'll see. Good question.
Keep us posted. We always like to end with asking, what are your 3 favorite coffee houses of all time?
Oh, good question. I mean, all the places I've worked obviously hold a special place in my heart. Bittersweet and, the Laughing Goat is pretty amazing. One of the staples of Boulder, and it's one of the oldest coffee houses there. It's really great. There's a few here in the city that I have come to love. Housing Works is a really cool place. It's a bookstore and a nonprofit. And so like cafes and coffee roasters will sort of just be featured in there, which is really cool. The Trident of Boulder is obviously one of the best. Yeah.
I didn't realize the Laughing Goat was that old. Laughing Goat's in Boulder on Pearl Street, but it's on the opposite end of Pearl from the Trident. Are they about the same age?
No, Trident's older, definitely.
That's what I thought. Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
Hey, do you remember Penny Lane in Boulder?
Yeah, so the owner of the Laughing Goat worked at Penny Lane and was a barista there, and then left and opened the Goat. Goat's been there for like 15 years.
So when Penny Lane became a bicycle shop, one of the baristas at Penny Lane became the owner of Laughing Goat?
Yeah, I think Penny Lane was still open when he opened the Goat, though.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't personally remember Penny Lane. It's a little bit prior to me drinking coffee, I think. But
well, I remember going there in like 2000. Yeah, 2000 to 2003 is when I was going there.
Yeah, right.
Were you alive then?
I was, but I don't think I hadn't acquired a taste for coffee at that point.
Oh my God. Well, it's been just wonderful catching up with you.
Yeah, same to you.
Thank you so much for being on our show.
Thanks for having me, guys.
My gosh, you're just the best.
It's so fun.
I feel like we just took a little trip around the world. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah. Well, I'll let you know if I'm ever in San Francisco. I'd love to.
Oh yeah.
Meet you.
You should. You totally should. All right.
I really do love touring. So.
Cool.
I mean, he's the best at it. He will take you all over the place, and it's so fun.
How do you guys know each other?
We go way back to we go back in ways we don't even understand fully.
Okay.
Yeah. Our circles are so knitted together that I think it'll take our whole lifetimes to figure it all out. But I think we started looking at each other. I don't know, like 2005 or 4
in North Carolina.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Austin was the barista at Cafe Driotti, which is that adorable coffee shop we can't mention too much on this show. Kind of set in the woods, and I lived in the woods in a condo down the hill. Actually, Austin lived down there.
I lived in the same condos, yeah.
Wow. Yeah, and that was before we started looking at each other seriously. And then before that, we went to college at the same place, and our circles overlapped there. I don't know. We might have been like born in the same hospital.
You did sometimes go to the smoking basement at Granville Towers, right? Like where you would eat lunch or breakfast or whatever, and you could also smoke down there.
No.
Like the dining hall. No.
No.
I don't know, Jodie. I think you were there. I'm not saying you were smoking, but I think you were maybe there sometimes.
Definitely not smoking. I have never smoked a day in my life. But I do know that I did not spend a lot of time at Granville Towers. So I don't know. I'm sure. He used to work at a coffee shop like at the Pit, but that was after school, wasn't it?
I think that was after the first time I dropped out.
Yeah. So I don't know. We've probably like bumped into each other at some rally on campus, and we're like, "Hey, man, you're so cool." I don't know. Who knows? Who knows? But we adore one another.
Yeah, seems like it.
So when I decided I was going to do this podcast, I called Austin immediately, and I was like, "Would you do this with me? Because I need a backup. I need somebody like to bring that fun energy to the show and coffee knowledge." And he said yes. So
It seems
Here
like
we
a
are.
very cool venture. I'm gonna have to listen to a few episodes.
Oh, you really should. They're all just wonderful. When you get people to talking about coffee and what they love to do outside of coffee, baristas are the most fascinating people because they're not just doing one thing. Like they're always into multiple topics. Like I mean, I party with a lot of engineers. My husband's, works in an engineering company primarily, and they do one thing and they do it really well, and that's what they talk about. But they don't have like 12,000 things going on in their minds.
They're not the most well-rounded humans.
Yeah, like they've got 12,000 things related in their minds, like to the one thing they're focused on. Like they have laser focus. And that's what they're good at. But then baristas are like the opposite of engineering people for the most part. Like the roasters, those are different people. The roasters are like kind of got that engineering mindset where they're like really dialed into details.
Yeah.
But baristas in general they're just the most captivating people I've met.
Yeah, we seem to be all over the place.
They're all over the place and they got a million stories. And if they don't personally have a lot of stories, they're interacting with people who are of stories. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. So it's never a dull conversation.
True.
All right. Well, as we end this episode, I again want to thank Abbey Case for being with us today and thank all our listeners for joining. We want to hear from you guys. So hit us up at info@baristaunfiltered.com with your big ideas and your questions about for a show. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. Thank you all for subscribing to our YouTube channel. And if you haven't yet, go over there and give it a like, please. We're trying to get a personalized URL and we need you to do that. We also would appreciate any thoughtful reviews you might have on our Apple's iTunes podcast app. That's where it needs to go to reach potential listeners. We have some podcast patrons now that I want to thank. So thanks you guys for supporting us on Patreon. And if you want to support us on Patreon, just head on over to our website and there's links there to do that. And as we wrap up, I'm Jodie Lee.
And I'm Austin Miller.
Y'all be good and stay caffeinated, friends, and we'll catch you next time. Bye.
Thanks, guys.